When I was 12 years old, my parents looked me dead in the eye, handed me a single suitcase, and said, "We are signing you over to your Uncle Arthur. You simply don't have the future your twin sister does, and we can no longer afford to waste resources on you." They traded me away like a bad investment because they thought I wasn't smart. For over 2 decades, I was dead to them. But the universe has a funny way of shifting the balance. Yesterday, 22 years later, they finally tracked me down. They walked into my world expecting to find a broken, struggling woman. Instead, the moment they saw my new family, my home, and the life I had built, their jaws hit the floor. The look of pure horror on their faces was worth every single tear I cried as a child. Follow my story until the end, and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. My name is Charlotte, and today I am 34 years old. But to truly understand how I built the life I have now, we have to go back to the exact moment my world shattered into a million pieces. Growing up, I was the resident shadow in my own home. I had a twin sister, Chloe, who was the undisputed golden child of the family. From the moment we started school, it was clear that Chloe was a natural academic prodigy, effortlessly bringing home perfect grades, trophies, and praise. I, on the other hand, struggled constantly. Reading took me twice as long, and traditional tests felt like a foreign language. Instead of trying to help me, my parents quickly labeled me as the slow, underachieving twin who just wasn't smart. They treated my very existence like an embarrassing financial burden. The breaking point arrived on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, when we were just 12. I was called into the living room, where a stack of legal documents sat on the coffee table. My parents didn't look at me with sadness. They looked at me with cold, calculated finality. They handed me a single canvas suitcase and told me they had legally signed over my permanent guardianship to my eccentric Uncle Arthur. He lived hours away on a remote, struggling livestock farm. My father told me, without a hint of hesitation, that they needed to focus all their resources on Chloe's bright future and they couldn't waste any more money on a child who had no potential. They traded me away like a bad investment, completely discarding me from their lives. The drive to Uncle Arthur's farm was the longest, quietest 3 hours of my life. I sat in the truck expecting the worst, fully believing I was being sent to a place of hard, unyielding labor where my apparent stupidity would finally be exposed. When we arrived, the farm looked weathered, but there was an unexpected stillness that brought a strange comfort to my racing heart. Uncle Arthur didn't hand me a list of grueling chores or look at me with disappointment. Instead, he handed me a warm cup of cocoa and told me to get some rest. Over the next few weeks, something incredible began to happen. Arthur never called me slow. He quickly realized that I didn't lack intelligence at all. I simply learned by doing rather than by staring at a textbook. He patiently introduced me to the practical, hands-on world of animal care, basic machinery repair, and complex livestock management. While my parents had judged my worth entirely on standardized test scores, Arthur measured my value by my sharp observation skills and my natural, deep empathy for animals. For the first time in my life, I wasn't being compared to Chloe. Under his gentle guidance, I learned how to diagnose sick cattle, calculate precise feed ratios, and manage the daily operations of the farm. Arthur unlocked a hidden passion inside me for animal science and veterinary care that I never knew existed. He gave me the confidence to believe that I had a bright future, proving that my parents were entirely wrong about my mind. As the years flew by, the silence from my biological parents became absolute. Not a single phone call on my birthdays, no graduation cards, and completely zero financial support. I was dead to them, completely erased from their perfect family dynamic. But I didn't care anymore because I was thriving. I poured all my energy into my studies, combining my hands-on farm experience with hard work, eventually securing a full academic scholarship to a top-tier university for veterinary medicine. While I was away at college, Uncle Arthur uncovered a bitter, deeply hidden truth through some extended family members who still kept in touch. It turned out that while my parents were completely busy pretending to be elite elites, their golden child, Chloe, was secretly draining them dry. She had developed an incredibly lavish lifestyle, demanding expensive cars, luxury trips, and funding for multiple elite business ventures that all failed spectacularly within months. To maintain the false illusion of success and keep up appearances, my parents had heavily leveraged all their personal assets, took out massive high-interest loans, and emptied their retirement funds. They were drowning in massive debt just to fuel Chloe's vanity. They had thrown me away to save resources, only to completely bankrupt themselves on the child they thought was a safe investment. The universe was quietly shifting the balance. After graduating at the absolute top of my class, I returned to the place that had saved me. With Uncle Arthur's blessing and my own hard-earned savings, I completely transformed his modest livestock farm into a state-of-the-art, highly lucrative modern veterinary hospital and sprawling agricultural estate. We became the premier medical facility for large animals in the entire region, pulling in massive success. Along the way, I met an incredible, supportive partner who deeply respected my drive and passion. We married and welcomed a beautiful child into our lives, filling the historic farmhouse with laughter, warmth, and absolute security. For the first time, I knew what a real family felt like. One built on unconditional love rather than transactional value and cold expectations. It happened on a crisp Tuesday afternoon, exactly 22 years after they had discarded me. I was reviewing the hospital's weekly financial records when a battered, dusty sedan pulled up to our main security gates. Through the office window, I watched three figures step out into the gravel yard. It took me a long moment to recognize them through the fog of time, but the cold pit that instantly formed in my stomach left no doubt. It was my biological parents and a bitter, utterly exhausted-looking Chloe. The decades had not been kind to them. The arrogance they once wore like armor had completely evaporated, replaced by a hollow, desperate weariness. Financial ruin had finally caught up to their house of cards, and they were facing total, public bankruptcy. Having recently discovered through local rumors that the wildly successful agricultural estate and premier veterinary center belonged to the daughter they had discarded as worthless, they had driven hours to track me down. As they walked toward the clinic doors, I watched them deliberately fix synthetic smiles onto their faces, instantly preparing to play the role of loving, remorseful parents who were just looking for an emotional family reunion. They thought they could simply walk back into my life and charm their way into my hard-earned wealth. They had absolutely no idea who was waiting for them inside. I stepped out of the private office and into the main clinic area, standing tall and proud before the people who had abandoned me. I was confident, wearing my professional scrubs with my stethoscope draped proudly around my neck. Beside me stood my husband, holding our young child, forming a picture of absolute unity and success. The moment my biological parents walked through the door, their eyes swept across the high-end facility, landing squarely on us. My biological mother let out a sharp gasp, her hand flying to her mouth in pure shock, while my father and Chloe stood completely frozen, their jaws practically hitting the floor. They were left utterly speechless by the sheer scale of the wealth and stability I had created without them. Breaking the heavy silence, my father stepped forward, his synthetic smile trembling as he tried to claim a bloodline loyalty they had destroyed decades ago. He spoke about family obligations, subtly hinting that it was my duty to bail them out of their impending bankruptcy. I let him finish speaking, my expression completely unreadable. Then, without saying a single word, I reached into the clinic desk and pulled out a laminated copy of the original legal abandonment papers they had signed when I was 12. I set the document flat on the table between us. I told them calmly that they had legally traded away all rights to my life, my future, and my success 22 years ago. They had absolutely no claim to the woman standing before them today. My parents and Chloe stared at the legal document on the table, the finality of their past choices staring right back at them. Chloe tried to scream, demanding that I owed them a share because of genetics, but my husband quietly stepped forward, and our security team escorted them off the property. I completely denied them a single cent of financial relief, leaving them to face the legal and financial consequences of their own greed. As their battered car drove away from our gates for the last time, I didn't feel anger, only a profound sense of peace. Uncle Arthur's unwavering belief in my unique mind had completely changed my destiny, proving that true intelligence is measured by resilience, love, and what you build from the ground up. Now, I am incredibly curious about all of you who have listened to my journey today. What would you have done if you were standing in my shoes at that clinic table? Would you have given them a second chance? Or would you have walked away just like I did? Please share your thoughts and comment below. If you found inspiration in my journey, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories of justice. Right now, I am leaving on the final screen 2 other incredible stories that are absolute channel favorites, and their unexpected twists will definitely surprise you. Thank you so much for watching until the very end, and I will see you in the next story.